What's up, shelf addicts? Welcome back to the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Today on Book Chat, we are continuing our current fantasy read-along with Book 3 of the Shifter series, Pride, written by Rachel Vincent. We also have some breaking news for you. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, I am your host, Tamara, and welcome back to the podcast. If you are new here, we are going to feed your shelf addiction with fun book conversations, bookish topics, and more. It's like listening in on your favorite book club. Participate in this discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official or over on the Book Clubs app. I hope to hear your thoughts on today's show. You can also find me and Casey on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything I've mentioned are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe before you leave. That will really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including after shows, special episodes, and more. So if you're into that at all, you'll need to head on over to Patreon and sign up. As always with Book Chats, we talk spoilers here, so you've been warned. Without further ado, let's begin. Welcome back to another fantasy series discussion. Joining me is my fantasy series co-host Casey from Heartful of Ink. Welcome, welcome.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yay! So we can kind of struggle through this together?
Yes. The bonding that is coming out of reading this book is fun.
Yes. Okay, so you guys, we are gonna wrap up with our third book in series. We are not, if you missed the announcement, we are not continuing with the Shifter series after this episode. And we are doing a new series, which is shared in our groups. I guess I can share it with you all too while we're talking about it. We're going to be reading This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab in October. And so that is a duology. So we're moving on to that. So you just know this is the last time you have to hear us talk about shifters. And so that's that. So we're going to jump right in. Book 3 is Pride, published January 27th, 2009 by Mira Books and Harlequin Books, S.A. The audiobook is narrated by Jennifer Van Dyke. The paperback comes in at 425 pages, and the unabridged audio is 13 hours and 18 minutes. Casey, please share the synopsis with us.
I'm on trial for my life, falsely accused of infecting my human ex-boyfriend and killing him to cover up the crime. Infecting a human is one of the 3 capital offenses recognized by the Pride, along with murder and disclosure of our existence to a human. I'm 2 for 3, a goner. Now we've discovered a rogue stray terrorizing the mountainside, hunting a wild teenage tabby cat. It's up to us to find and stop him before a human discovers us. With my lover Mark's help, I think I can protect the vulnerable girl from the ambitious rogue and the scheming of the territorial council, if I survive my own trial.
All right.
Big sigh.
Where should we start?
I want to start by saying I love paranormal romance. I love urban fantasy. I love shifters. I love books where a heroine doesn't take shit from anybody and she stands up for herself and she yells at a council member. I love that. That is what I want to read in every book ever. That is my love language in romance books. But this book has all of those elements, but they're so terrible that I now feel stupider for having read this book.
I know. It's like it had all the right ingredients. How does it taste bad?
Exactly. How does it taste bad? I feel like I'm in 8th grade geometry class all over again, and I need a tutor to explain each little thing to me. And I was saying right before we started recording, I'm so tempted to go get a whiteboard with multiple different markers and try and like write this out so we can figure out why this happened the way it happened and why the rules contradict each other and why one rule works here but doesn't work here. And, you know, everybody just takes it at face value. I don't know what else to say other than like, I don't understand this book.
It honestly seemed like a free-for-all to me. Like, whatever the author needed
in that
to
moment,
just stir more shits at the time, that's what she went with. And it doesn't matter if it really fits or not.
Or if somebody said the opposite, like in the previous chapter.
Yeah. Yeah, like, there's a lot of confusion there. I tried not to think about it too hard, to be honest.
I could not think about it because I was like, how does this work? You just said the opposite 2 pages ago, but now you're saying this and what? My brain hurts.
That guy, I can't remember his name, the biggest douche of the council, the lead guy, he kept like, the author wanted him to be the biggest villain in the book. And he kept like kind of using the system to get his way, to manipulate people, to make it seem like he was on the up and up and he has all the best interests of, you know, all the cats in mind. So he was using whatever. That character was saying one thing today, another thing tomorrow. He was like pulling the things out of thin air we never heard about. And just, it was a free-for-all just so he could get what he wanted, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. But okay, so let's talk about the rules of this world. In this particular shifter world, tabby cats, aka women, are a super minority. There were 10 of them in Faith's generation, you know, and I think 2 of them died in book 1.
Yeah,
effectively cutting off like 20% of their population.
Right.
And but one of the biggest rules is that like you have to protect the tabby cats at all costs, right?
Right.
Like that is their number one rule above everything else. You have to protect the women because without women you can't have more babies, and without more babies you're all dead. Right? Like that's the number one rule. Like But they're talking about executing a woman? Yeah, executing a tabby cat?
And that's why they made a point to say, well, are you saying you don't want children? Are you saying you have no intention of getting married?
She's 22, 23.
I know.
And they're like, if you sign away your ovaries and say you're never going to have children, we're just going to kill you right now.
Yeah.
What? But I thought you had to protect the women no matter what. Even the mothers who have like surpassed their usefulness. Like, what?
I know. I was wondering how they were going to try to make this, I guess, more volatile, right? Because automatically I'm like, well, she's not going to die because they can't kill her.
They can't. Based on their own rules, if they hurt her in any way, they have to punish themselves. And so if they kill her, does that mean they have to kill themselves based on their own laws? Or are they above the law? Or
they made her an exception. They tried to make her an exception. You know.
I just don't understand how so many alphas are like, yes, we have lost 20% of our population makers in this generation already. Let's cut out another one, effectively eliminating 30% of our baby makers. We can't get any more women. So, you know, you're screwed all future generations.
Yeah. I mean, it's too much, like, looking at the numbers, it's too much of a risk to take. I mean, because she could have a kid at 35, you know.
Absolutely,
she could have kids a lot later. So it's not like, and she kind of said, I can't answer that. She did say, the character did respond like, how am I supposed to know how I feel in 2 years, basically, let alone, I can't think about what I want to do tomorrow, she essentially said. And it's like, why So all she has to say is, I don't want children, and off with her head.
Which is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Especially being that the old dude was trying to throw threats around like, I'll take her into my group. Like, oh, you gross dude.
Yeah, no, that was disgusting. That was so... Are you...
So you're desperate. You're like, I don't care. And at that point, they hadn't determined exactly what Casey, that's the little girl's name, what she was. She could have been a stray, and you didn't care because she was a girl. You just wanted her because she was a girl. You just
want a baby maker.
That way. Right. You feel that way about her.
A 13-year-old child.
This guy hates strays with a passion. That was like part of his problem. But yet you're going to kill me, a high-ranking pride woman with a lot of skills just because you're mad.
It didn't make sense.
No.
None of it made sense. And that's the other thing is that, you know, her brother Ryan was part of the issue in book 1 where they were kidnapping and torturing women, which is a punishable crime. You know, he could be executed and probably should be executed for that.
Right.
But Daddy over here has him locked in a cage in the basement, so it's fine. And he was ignoring the council members' cries for Ryan's head. Like, he's just going to ignore that. But now that Faith may have accidentally turned a stray and then killed the stray, Daddy's just going to let her be punished and executed? But
Seems
not
like it.
The white man brother, Ryan?
Seems like it. Yes. Yes. I mean, at least the author had made him upset about it. But yes, he was going to do it.
So, yeah. And none of the rules make sense. None of the characters' choices make sense. I'm just so confused.
Like, yes, I agree.
And I guess that's the other thing that really confused me. I mean, with all of it. But so for this trial, Faith says she shifted her teeth during sex and cut Andrew's ear and turned him into a stray accidentally. And then, you know, he went around doing bad things, killing people, being an awful person. And he tried to kill her, so she killed him in self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
They don't believe that she partially shifted. So do they not believe that she turned him? Because when they found his body, there were no great big scars on his back or anything. And, you know, when strays do bad things, they kill strays because everybody hates strays.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to go down that rabbit hole, how are all of these strays being made? Because if you're not allowed to make strays, you get killed if you make a stray. So how are these strays being made? And like, there's so many strays that they have all these big open spaces for the strays to roam around in. And like,
I mean, I understand.
I'm so confused.
That is a loophole, right? That's a plot hole, as you would call it.
And it's a plot hole.
No clear reason why there are so many strays running around. If supposedly you can smell who bit them and who turned them, then all those people would be dead. All those cats who turned them would be dead.
But
and you
apparently, like, she's the first person on trial for this in a long time, and she's the only one who has ever turned a stray. Like, she had one of those dramatic lines where she's like, "I'm the only one."
Well, how come her and Mark's job wasn't inclusive of finding the person who turned the stray? So in book 2, when they're out there chasing the strays, why aren't they also looking for the person who turned them?
Because that would make sense. And that would be like, yeah, let's go hunt down the makers and kill them or put them on trial. But no, it doesn't matter when that happens. It only matters when Faith maybe accidentally did something to a man's ear that they don't really believe she did. But there are no other marks on his body. And so...
Well, she finally proved it. It took her forever to turn her face. but she proved that what she said is true.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they kind of were letting that one go, but then it became all about the murder. How do we know you didn't murder him on purpose? And even the doctor who testified said you can tell by the marks on her that they are defensive wounds, and she also had to kill him because you could tell she was on her back. All these things were so obvious, and they just weren't going for it. They just wanted an excuse to kill her at that point. It was obvious.
Yes, it was obvious that they just wanted to kill her, which is stupid, again, because she's a woman. And anyway, but like, the other thing is she is officially an enforcer. Like, she was being paid to hunt down strays and kill them. Andrew was a stray who was hurting human women, and so it was her job as an enforcer to hunt down and kill him, right?
Right.
So she was doing her job?
Yes.
But they want to murder her for doing her job?
Yes.
I'm so confused.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. But yes, essentially that's it. They're trying to say her motives were not job-based. They were personal, and that's not the case. And it's proven that's not the case. That's why they let it go. But
I don't think it was really proven. I think they just decided to let it go because they were able to get rid of Mark.
Yeah. And that was another twist that was kind of like, what? Okay, so the whole time they were trying to get rid of Mark, or it just happened that the situation aligned where they had the opportunity to get rid of Mark, so they took it?
They said it was like the original end goal. They were just trying to like fake it by saying that they were going to kill Faith, but really they wanted to get rid of Mark so that Daddy had to choose between Faith and Mark because
that's so stupid.
It was so stupid.
I'm like, how is he the end? Okay, so if Mark was the end game, this was a big roundabout stupid game to get there.
It's because they're racist, bigot people. Like, Mark is the only person of color in this entire goddamn book. He's the only person of color living at their farm. He's the only person of color we ever see who's not a bad guy.
Yeah. And now he's walked away.
And now they banished him because he's a stray and that's dirty and they don't want him around. So got to get rid of the person of color.
Basically. And the stray thing is so bad is they were essentially hoping and praying for any other explanation for the little girl other than she's a stray. And that was a strong theory that Faith had. Like, she could be a stray. Her parents are not. And then they brought the science. I'm like, oh God. Recessive genes, okay. And then they had to explain it, the author explained it for people in school.
Yep.
And I kind of feel like this is opening another plot hole by doing this.
Very much so. Yes.
So who knows how many are out there from parents that carried recessive genes?
Probably a lot. Be out there.
But for some reason, only this little girl got busted.
And why? Genuinely, why? Was it the hormones that just changed her? Was she... Yeah. I guess.
So this was so this was the explanation they guessed on, right? Because she doesn't really remember. So it sounds like she hit puberty and she changed. And it sounds like her mother and her sister were there when it happened, and they're freaking out. And out of instinct, she kills her family and runs away for doing it. But in that moment, she doesn't understand what she is or what she's doing. So she's just stayed that way
for months,
for however many months 5 months or whatever, how many months she was out there. So that's wild.
Yeah. No, poor child.
Yeah. They actually did feel bad for her, thank goodness, but
finally,
they were trying to be like, she scratched people, she did this, and the man and the woman in the tree.
Oh God,
She's trying to save her food for later. I'm like, oh my God.
That's what a cat does. Like, she was so fully cat that she forgot how to be human. And so, honestly, like, no, I don't blame her for eating that human woman and hiding the body up in the tree.
No. And I don't think anyone did. She was just ashamed that she did it, I think. But with that said, the author had to find another way to make her a viable. As I said this whole time, this whole series is about adding women to this pride. And that is what's happening. This is woman number 2 in a row.
Yep.
So they had to find a way to do it without her being a stray. And the author came up with that.
Which feels weird. Like, it would have been better if she was a stray, and then, we could have started integrating strays into the community, other than this pure blood bullshit that they hold on to for no reason whatsoever besides racism and bigotry. Like, the overtones.
And I'm sure they would find, if she was a man, if Casey was a man, they would have found another way to make her a second-class citizen.
Oh, absolutely.
But because she's a woman and they need women, they're like, okay, cool. We get it. It's fine.
Yeah. You're forgiven for everything, unless you're Faith. And when you're Faith, we're just going to, like, pretend to execute you, but maybe execute you. And
at one point,
I don't know.
At one point, I can't remember who told her, but one of the cats says to her, they're going to kill you no matter what, essentially. And so then she's like, well, I can say whatever because you're going to kill me anyways. Isn't that right? I'm like,
what are you going to do? Kill me twice?
Right.
And I was like, I have to laugh at that, but also, like, this is just so stupid. Why are they killing their women off? They're no better than the South American evil bad guys from book 1. And I'm using air quotes for those of you who can't see me because... oh my God, this series.
I wish there was more. I wish there were more people of color in there. It doesn't have to be so white. And if you're going to, I guess fairly, all strays are bad no matter what color you are. Because they killed some white strays in the last book, didn't they?
And this one, the guy, the leader, was a white Canadian man, so... yeah. And he got his neck snapped, so yay!
He did.
White guys are bad, too!
I know. Oh my gosh. It was interesting. And to top it all off, like, not even getting into the inconsistencies, but just at a high level... honestly, the book was kind of boring. It moved slow to me. I thought it was... you guys, we both literally just finished this book before we hit record.
30 minutes ago, finished this book.
For me, less than that. Like 5 minutes before we started.
Yeah, no, it was...
I was struggling, and that alone, like, sometimes I can push off all the crazy and all the stuff that doesn't make sense. If for whatever reason, something is giving me joy out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If I'm entertained, even though it's ridiculous, I can do that. But if I'm not being entertained, all the ridiculousness just stands out as being ridiculous. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay, so little quick side note, but like, I genuinely love watching those cheesy made-for-TV sci-fi movies, like Stonehenge Apocalypse or Sharknado Before It Blew Up. Like, those movies are so fucking wild and make no sense whatsoever, but the actors just go with it. And I can get enjoyment from watching these actors, have to jump and scream when a giant 10-foot spider pops out, and or a velociraptor makes a weird squeaky sound because the studio can't make a real velociraptor sound. Like, there is genuine enjoyment from that, even though it is shitty. Like, it's shitty, but I get genuine enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
Reading this book is like watching those movies, but I don't get any enjoyment out of it. Like, there's nothing good. I can't relate to any of the characters. I'm not happy with anything that's happening. I can kind of like Faith, but she hasn't grown at all. This 13-year-old child who has been, a cat for 3 months is more mature than Faith ever was or ever will be.
Honestly, and plus, let me just say, y'all, it takes Faith so long. It takes her so long to get to the root of it. When she's questioning the kid, I'm sitting there like she doesn't know how. I felt like a whole page before Faith is like, oh, she keeps asking. I'm like, the girl doesn't know how to change. Why is it taking you so long to figure it out, Miss Know-It-All? I just feel like everything she did was just slow motion.
She just couldn't think anything through.
No.
She, couldn't figure out that Casey didn't know how to shift. She couldn't figure out how to teach her how to shift. Or, when she was asking questions about where are you from? Or what are your parents like? Casey was answering, kind of point blank. This is what I know. This is what I don't know. And Faith is sitting there like, I wonder what this means, or how should I phrase this question again? Because she didn't answer it the way I wanted her to answer. And I was like, but she just told you the answer. You just wanted to hear something different. So
yeah. She is the kind of person where she likes to learn things the hard way. Like, that is her character through and through. Everything is hard.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes. But she likes to say she's a strong, independent woman who doesn't need any man. But as soon as things get really difficult, she's turning in her chair going, Daddy, help me. Mark, help me. I don't know what I'm doing. I need your help. Daddy. It was so bad.
She did. And even the scene, again, I just can't with the daddy. I can't with the daddy for some reason. And even when she tells Casey to go into the room, shut the door, go in the closet, and call my father. He's under daddy. I'm like, girl. Every time she says, and I listened on audiobooks, so every time the narrator said daddy, I just cringed. It just sounds bad from an adult woman.
It sounds so bad. It sounds so bad, and it sounds so pathetic.
It sounds spoiled. You sound like an extra spoiled person calling your father daddy. I mean, dad.
And it started on like page 2 or page 3 of the ebook. She's sitting in the council being questioned. Her brother Michael is her lawyer, and she's looking at him, and he's telling her to shut up, and she doesn't want to, so she turns on her chair and goes, Daddy, in front of the entire fucking council. And I'm just like, what the hell?
She sounds like a spoiled brat. Like,
she does.
I don't know how you're able to explain yourself when you sound like such a brat.
You sound like a child. Again, the actual 13-year-old child sounds more mature than you.
I know.
And you're a 22, 23-year-old woman. I'm trying to think of something nice to say about this book, but I don't have anything.
No, and it's fine. Honestly, it's fine. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break. We're going to take a commercial break, guys. When we come back, we're going to continue talking about the book. I know I definitely want to address the Mark relationship thing as well. So we'll talk about that when we come back. In the meantime, listen to those commercials, because by listening to those, you are supporting the podcast. And also check out the book review notebook and the book review journal, available on Amazon right now. The links are in the show notes. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. All right, welcome back, guys. So we are going to continue. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about their Mark and Faith's relationship.
Let me just bang my head on this table first. That'll be nicer.
So she is so not happy that they're not together at the beginning of this book.
It's her fault, though.
yes, it is her fault.
100% her fault.
I think she even acknowledges that.
Not really. She keeps saying, he broke up with me. He broke up with me. He broke up with me.
I know. And it's like, so she might have an understanding, but she's not willing to take ownership of her actions. So then when it goes one step further and Mark is, kicked out, oh, she is enraged. She is sad and mad and ready to fight the world about him getting kicked out. It's like, I don't want him, but I don't want anyone else to have him.
But also, so the thing that, again, really bothers me the most is in book 2, he offered her a ring and said, I want a promise of someday. Someday you will marry me. Not tomorrow, but someday. And she flipped out and was like, no, I can never marry you. Blah, 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 blah. You're tying me down. I need my freedom. I need my space. But then every other time she thinks about him, she's like, I can't imagine a future without him. I need him in my life forever. He has to be with me forever and always, but not marriage. And I'm like, he was never asking for marriage. He was saying someday. Like this promise of the future that you want and this commitment to saying, yes, I want this future with you. But she said no. And then she's mad because he broke up with her.
I know. And the irony of it all, to me, was at the end, it seems like they got past it.
Somehow.
They somehow got past it. They're sleeping together, touchy. Obviously, he's about to leave. Now I need to express how much I want him. He leaves her the ring again with a note. She puts the ring on her right ring finger, not her left. And then she takes it off because it's private. Like she wants to keep it a secret. Here we go. So we're right fucking back where we started. And that makes Mark weak AF to me.
Yes. Mark should have walked away all those months ago. He should have never come back to her. He should have realized, he should take her at face value because what she says is, I don't want you. And then she cries about him and I don't know, is there racist overtones of a white woman keeping a brown man on a string, but keeping him secret and only having him around when she wants him and when it's okay for her, but she's hiding the ring in her pocket and she's not agreeing to marry him. And we kind of learned in book 2 that she left him at the aisle, but that kind of got rolled back again to being they were kind of engaged before. But so I don't know if they were actually at a wedding when she left him the first time.
I think they were at a wedding. They said, you left me at the altar, right?
Yeah, no, that was in book 2. But then this book, it was kind of I should never have left you when I went to college. But they didn't mention the wedding again. At least I don't think they mentioned the wedding again.
He said this would have never happened if you had married me and rescheduled our wedding instead of running off to college or something like that. He did mention a wedding. She didn't even reschedule the wedding. She just bust up and left.
So yeah, no, why the hell does he stick around? Why? I know
he is her doormat. She uses and abuses him. She's that guy he is that guy where I think she does have feelings for him. She definitely feels like they have a good sex life, right? I think she likes that the most about them.
Oh, absolutely. She loves his ding dong.
So I don't think she wants to give that up. And I think she also knows in the back of her mind, eventually she'll have to give in. So there's nobody else she'd rather do that with than him, right? Not that, hey, I want to marry you. I want to do all this. I think she thinks eventually, because as she said, when she was talking to Casey, like, why did they chain you, keep you, lock you up? What happened? She didn't really like it. She just tried to explain it, but she didn't approve of it. And I think she thinks the same way about the relationship stuff. She doesn't really like it, but she thinks it's inevitable. So Mark is her best option. So she's keeping him on the hook, because if I have to be chained to somebody, I'd rather it be him.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's kind of her whole character personality, except it makes her a terrible, terrible person. Like,
yes.
And then we have to have these super surface thoughts of like, oh, but I love him. Oh, but I can't imagine my life without him. Oh, I need him forever and always. But then, 2 seconds later, she's screaming about how much she hates him and never wants him. And like, this is consistent throughout the first 3 books of the series. And nothing has changed. She hasn't changed. She hasn't grown. He said he was done. He said he was walking away, but he's still like orbiting her circle and still around her and still can't actually leave her. And
even in the end, when he burst in to rescue at the last minute, I'm like, you're not even supposed to be there.
No. He's supposed to be long gone, but he can't be gone because he loves her that much, even though it doesn't make sense. And just like, what? And this
comes back around to what I think I originally said in the first episode. Faith is just straight unlikable. And I think it was a mistake for the author to make her so unlikable. I don't even know if the author knows that she's done that.
I don't think so. I think she thinks she's made a likable, unlikable heroine. And I love a good, unlikable heroine, but there's always some kind of redeeming quality, whether it's that self-awareness of, I know I keep fucking up, but this is why I fuck up, and this is what I want to hopefully do in the future to keep myself from, like, that self-awareness is so key to the unlikable people, the unlikable characters. Faith doesn't have that.
Yeah, I try to think about every heroine that I really enjoy that has a strong personality. To me, they are likable. They are. They just have a lot of opponents, but they are likable people. Like, for example, in Janine Frost series, Kat is very likable. People love her. They like her. They all want to be on her team once they get to know her. But she has a lot of opponents.
Yes.
Same with Mercy. She has a shit ton of people that will back her. Everyone loves her. But yet she has a lot of enemies.
Yep.
So I think that's different from being unlikable. And I think Faith is unlikable. Like, she's so bratty and
she's self-absorbed, head shoved up her ass, so codependent on her daddy that she has to turn to him every 2 seconds. She can't think about the consequences of her actions in the moment. Like, she opens her mouth and yells at people, and she can't think about how to say something without being a bitch. And, that kept happening over and over and over again in her trial. She would open her mouth and make things worse for herself, but get mad at everybody else, even though it was like genuinely her own fault for yelling the stupid shit at these old assholes.
And she keeps doing
it.
I got so tired of people trying to grab her wrist and yank her down, cover her mouth. Like, she would not shut up to save her life. Like, her...
And she almost, like, deserved to be executed for all of that shit. Like, come on.
I mean, even in the end, her father said, I'm telling you, you are going to sit the fuck down and shut up because I need this. We need this. He basically had to tell her off.
Yeah. And did she listen to him? Not really.
No. Not really. And that is, one more thing I don't like about her is now if it made sense, then maybe I could let it go. But the problem is it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I'm not cheering for her. Like, yes, there are a couple good zingers, but for the most part, I'm sitting here like, no, you're digging your own grave. Be smart about this. Outsmart these old assholes. Don't just bend over and show your neck. Outsmart them. Outplay the game. But she had to be told that there was a game, and then she had to be told what the game was, and then she had to be told who all the pieces were, and how they're being moved around, and how she was actually a pawn in this whole thing.
She literally had to be hand fed to her because she's so dense. All she does is run her mouth.
And like Mercy, who we both love and adore. Mercy figures stuff out. She lets the old assholes, say stuff in front of her. She just kind of smiles and nods. And then she goes off and does her own thing and screws over the old assholes. Like, if we had Mercy in this book, none of this shit would be happening. None of this would be happening.
And that's the thing, though. It's not even about having a perfect heroine, because I've complained about some of the stuff Mercy does.
Yes.
So she is not perfect, but she still, I think, does to that character's best ability what she thinks is right.
Yes.
And it comes across well, right? Across the page, it comes across, and we root for her instead of saying, what the fuck are you doing?
Yes, exactly.
Why are you doing that? Right.
Yes. Like in the last Mercy book we just read, Silverborn, Mercy made some very stupid choices that, caused a lot of issues. But she thought they were the right choices, and that's why she made them. And everybody, including her mate Adam, was like, don't apologize because you would make this choice again. It had a really bad fallout, but you would make this choice exactly the same all over again. So don't apologize for doing it. And that's the good character doing what she wants to do because she believes it's right and dealing with the consequences, and everybody around her going, yeah, you kind of did fuck up, but this is who you are. We accept you for your fuck ups.
Yes. And it's the opposite in Faith's world.
Yes.
Her father, Mark,
Jace,
everyone,
her brothers,
Jace, everyone around her are constantly saying, shut up and sit down, Faith. You're doing this wrong. You don't.
And they're right.
Yeah. And that's not cute to me. It's not cute. Why would I become vested in Faith as a character if her own people can't be vested in her? At least Mercy's people support her.
Yes. Nobody likes what Faith is doing. Not her family, not her lover, not her friends, not her brothers, like nobody. But she keeps doing it because she doesn't have the self-awareness to realize that she needs to listen to them. They have her best interest at heart for whatever reason. And if she just, listened to them, sat down, actually shut up and listened to what was happening, and then went and did her own thing, that would be somebody who I could get behind. But we're 3 books into this series. Faith is still at 0 self-awareness.
Yes. Which makes it hard to read.
It makes it
hard to care about her. It makes it hard to give a fuck about anything that's happening.
Absolutely. And so yeah. No, we met a new character kind of early on in the book. So, little context for this scene because, oh my God, I was rolling my eyes so hard. Faith is allowed to go out and to the forest and get some fresh air. So she goes out with Mark and Jace, and they smell a stray, and they're like, oh, we gotta be bait and capture this stray. So Faith makes herself bait, does kind of get caught by this stray. But this guy actually seems to kind of genuinely be nice. He's a cat in this moment, like a big ass 200-pound panther who very gently has her jacket arm in his mouth, and he's trying to lead her into a different direction. And she's like, oh my God, he's so mean. He's so vicious. I don't know what to do. I'm like, this cat with teeth bigger than your fingers is holding onto the cloth of your jacket, not your arm, the cloth of your jacket, and like trying to gently lead you away. Finally, Mark and Jace show up, and somehow Faith ends up underneath the stray, like he's kind of protecting her, but his nails are retracted, so he's just standing on her and squishing her chest, and she's like, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. But Mark does something to scare him, and so his claws flex out a little bit and puncture her gut and then retract instantly. And the way everybody acted, you would think she had been gutted. You would think her intestines were spilling out onto the forest floor.
Right.
They're like, oh my God, there's so much blood everywhere.
Like she was near death. Yeah.
But like, if you've ever had a cat just kind of like put their claws in you and then retract them, it hurts. But it's just like those little pinpricks. It's not a great big mauling across the gut. Like it's...
Now, I do have to wonder, so, like, if a little cat, because I have had a cat do that to me. It's like, ow, you know, it hurts. But imagine, like, the claws being, I don't know, 100 times bigger than a cat's claws.
So it is.
It could stab some organs in there.
It could. But, like, they start screaming and crying, and they have to call daddy, and they have to get all of these people, and they have to put her on a stretcher and carry her out of the forest. Like, she can't breathe or walk herself, and then she got something like 20 stitches, and they're like, that's so much better.
And then someone else got 100 stitches,
more than 100. And I'm just like, I thought you were a strong, independent
baby
woman.
Her.
I thought, like,
no, she likes to be babied as well. She likes it.
You know? But anyway, we end up finding this stray, and they capture him, and they bring him back, and they start torturing him. And I'm like, hey, I kind of like this guy. He seems kind of sane. He seems kind of nice. He's a stray from Canada. He's only been here a few weeks. Like, he seems to be cool. I like him. And they, get all his name and information, and then they eventually let him go. And then at the end of the book, it comes out like he's this crazy, raving, psychotic alpha stray who's made a bunch of other strays, and they're trying to take over this land, and they're cannibals. She calls them Hannibal.
Oh my God. And they're like, this one dude is like just eating somebody.
Just eating a human as a human.
Eating.
Like
Right. Like, he's not even turned, and he's just going to town. It's disgusting.
And I was like, wait a second. What happened to our nice, sane guy at the beginning of the book who was, like, gently trying to lead her away and obviously not trying to kill her? But everybody was so shocked and so just like, oh, he's evil. He's evil. He was a white man.
Which, by the way, how do you do that? So if you're turned... How can you be human eating a human? How does that work?
He was so fucked in the head. He was like feverish and sick and demented and probably already kind of psychotic and ready for, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It wasn't really described or explained.
No, it's gross.
But again, like Faith hunts him down at the very end. He's threatening to hurt Casey. She has his neck in his mouth. He starts stabbing her, and she's like, should I kill him? I don't know. Is it self-defense?
Right.
I don't know. What do I do? And I'm like, you're a goddamn enforcer. Here is a stray who is hurting people and hurting you. What is your job? Kill. But maybe they will kill you because you're a woman and they want an excuse to kill you. I don't know.
But again, she just figured out you're going to kill me any fucking way. So what does it matter? Just do it.
Exactly.
What does it matter?
Exactly. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. I don't know. I genuinely don't understand this book. And I went on Goodreads right before we started. I have at least a dozen friends who have read this book, and they have all rated it 4 and 5 stars. And these are
Really?
friends who I know and trust. And I'm like, I like the books you normally read. We can swap recommendations. Like if they said, hey, Casey, read this book, I know it would probably be a pretty good book. But all of them rated this book 4 and 5 stars. And am I dumb? Like, am I just,
Well,
what am I not getting?
no. Well, I'm not going to say you're dumb because that would mean I'm dumb if I didn't like it. So no way. I just think maybe we're not in the right zone for it. I don't know. Maybe.
But like, this has all the elements I should like. I want to like it. I just read it and I hate it. And I questioned everything. And again, like I was on page 2 going, what the fuck does this even mean? Why are you killing a woman when you have 7 left?
Let me just say, I just scrolled through a couple of 2-star reviews.
Good.
And the stuff that they didn't like is stuff we didn't like.
Okay, good.
So maybe we're just paying attention to different aspects of the book. Or maybe someone just is so into... Maybe something happens later that people love so much that they're giving the earlier books higher ratings.
I don't know. I'm so confused by this.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't get it. Like I genuinely.
Yeah, I don't either.
I want a whiteboard with multiple different colored markers to show me like, okay, this is the rule that says you cannot hurt women, but you can break it when they break this rule. And this is the rule that they can break. That means you can hurt them. But in the next chapter, it means the opposite thing because you can't hurt Casey because she's a woman. But, oh no, she's a cannibal. But, just push that under the rug. She's 13. She's a child. We want her. Like, what?
I don't even care that much to find out, honestly. I don't care that much. I'm not interested enough. Now, yeah, just no, that's it. I'm just not interested enough. So, unlike you, I want to put this behind me and just move on. I don't want to deal with this anymore, period.
I think I'm done with this after today. Like, I'm walking away. I'm done. I can't.
Yeah. So... whatever reason people love it, good for them.
Yeah.
It's just not something I can enjoy.
I just can't wrap my brain around it. I need somebody to explain it to me, but I don't want that explanation because I don't want to think about it anymore.
And even if I got that explanation, I still won't read anymore. I'm officially done with it. I don't... So let's hurry it. Let's rate it really quickly. I mean, we know all the reasons we don't like it. So let's go ahead and put the final stamp on it.
1 star.
1 star.
It's an emotional, I'm confused. I don't understand anything. The writing is somewhat decent. Like if you just look at an actual sentence, it's better than some of the things I've read. But like from page 1, I didn't understand what was happening. So 1 star.
2 star for me. I don't like some of the stuff going on. I have a big problem with the heroine, as you know. But, I mean, I was not confused as far as, like, the plot in itself. But it's just when the details start, it gets really murky and the rules of the world are murky. To me, that was the biggest issue. But just looking at it at face value, I understood what was happening, but I don't understand why it was happening. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
I understood what was happening, but I don't understand why. And every time somebody gave an explanation, it contradicted some other world building rule. And they never addressed that contradiction. They never addressed any of it. So...
yeah. And there's just no hot guys, in my opinion, in this book. Nothing.
Mark is attractive, but he's just so weak that, like, I just want to take him out and put him in therapy and be like, just leave, baby. Like, I don't want anything to do with you.
That's not attractive to me. That's like little brother. That's little brother status. Let me treat you like someone I need to
take care of. Yeah,
and take care of. That's not sexy to me.
It's not sexy.
Let me help you.
But also, like, he is the only person of color, so that makes him a little more attractive than all the other generic white guys around. Like, again, 1 star. I could probably dive into some of those POC issues, but we're just going to leave it at surface level right now. and we're just going to walk
just
away.
Leave it there for now. So that is the end of our journey into Shifters by Rachel Vincent. And you guys know I feel a little bit bad by not finishing. I really feel odd for not finishing a series, but I refuse to do it to myself and to you, Casey. I refuse to do it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Because, like, I feel bad walking away, but also it was so hard for me to read this book. I don't think I ever could have finished it if it wasn't for the podcast. And again, like, I finished it half an hour before we started recording. And that was because I was, like, inching my way through it and just like, okay, just another page. We're so close to the end. Just get to the end.
I know. And I don't think, you guys listening, I would not want to put you through another hour of hearing us complain, because that's what it feels like, an hour of complaining. And I don't enjoy that. Like, a little bit of ribbing is fun, especially when things don't make sense or something is off. A little bit of it is fun, but it gets exhausting when you're doing it for 3 books in a row for an hour each, and you don't see any signs of it changing. So that's why we're quitting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, what else can we say? I don't have anything really nice to say about this book, and that upsets me. Like, I want to say something nice. I don't want to yuck on somebody's yum. I want to enjoy this book, but there's nothing I enjoy about it. And if I could play a fun, what's Casey's favorite plot hole? Like, that doesn't work if everything is a plot hole.
I know.
That doesn't work if everything contradicts itself. Then I just have to rip the whole book apart. Not like, oh, well, this didn't work or this didn't work. Like, if there's 1 or 2 things, that's fun.
I know.
But if it's like the whole ass book, I'm sitting here in confusion and asking for a tutor to help me. Like, what? No. Quitting. We're tapping out. We're calling Uncle.
And maybe I also just don't like cats. Maybe.
I need to get you reading Nalini Singh, because she writes cats well. And there's a lot of diversity because she is a woman of color herself.
Okay.
So yay diversity, yay cats. Love her series.
Okay, well, maybe I'll try it one day on my own, because that's a pretty long series, right?
It's very long.
Okay.
We might have to read 1 book for a bookish discussion at one point. But yeah.
Okay, well, I have to keep that on my list, because so far I'm not loving the cats. Not sexy.
Cats. I like cats. I love big cats, but not this series. Not this series.
Well, okay, I think we're done. What do you think, Casey?
I think we're done. Can we tap out?
Yes,
we're
tapping
out.
Go
get a drink.
We are 100% tapping out. So we will see you guys next time. Don't forget, we are switching to a new series. Come back and hear us talk about this Savage song next month, and hopefully it will be a fun conversation. I'm crossing all the fingers, all the toes.
Fingers crossed.
And we're going to end things there. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe before you exit, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Until then, take care of yourselves. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.